Hi guys. So today I have a really special guest with me today. I actually found her online because I was going through my own journey of a little bit of confusion where I wanted clarity on a very specific area. And Helena is a global expert on this area. And I was lucky enough to get an appointment with her, and we had a session. And after my session, I got the clarity that I wanted. And she's also a very special and amazing person. Helena, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this with you.
Yeah, me too. And I really want to get the word out and get the message out.
I'm an astrologer and I started studying astrology back in 2011. I was a senior in high school when I really started getting into like learning about sun signs and relationship compatibility and how do people get along based on their birth charts and the weeks that they were born. And when I was 18, I moved to New York City and I would skip class and go to the Barnes and Noble across the street from my university. And I didn't have any money. So I would just pull out the astrology books on the floor and read astrology books in my free
Wow.
time.
Yeah, that's
So
passion right there.
yes, I've always been so passionate about understanding the moon and like what do the moon phases mean and how does that affect how we are feeling and our emotions and just understanding why certain people get along with other people more naturally. Just like those questions of like understanding people and how we feel. And so I've always loved it as a hobby. But it wasn't until I moved to France in 2018 that I learned about astrocartography. And I heard about like the energy of place on a podcast, how there's different like Earth vortex centers in the world. Like there's one in Maui, there's one, I believe, in Ireland, there's one in Sedona. And I was learning about like how places have energies and like these centers in the world where you could go and like connect with your chakras. And I was fascinated by it. So I did some Googling and I learned about astrocartography. And this was right after I'd moved to France. And the minute I got to France, specifically in the Alsace region, which is like northeast part of France, I just fell in love being there. And it felt like remembrance. It felt like familiarity, like home. Like I've been here before. I've lived here before. This place feels so resonant. And I've never felt that way in the US. I have amazing certain lines in the US, but I never felt that sense of like home and belonging. And so I moved, so living in France, I started getting really into astrocartography, taking classes, reading books, doing all that. And then I started getting serious about it in 2021 when I opened up my business doing one-on-one client work. And that's where, oh my gosh, I learned so much because seeing how people's stories in the world matched up with their maps, these like treasure maps that they have uniquely based on the time that they're born. And these places show them their stories and how they're feeling. And, it's not just all in our heads. We have a map that's literally showing us these stories, and we can go to these places and unlock those stories. And I find that so fascinating. The idea of like travel and time and like location to be just such a huge influence on our lives.
I mean, I mean, for me, because I was, I think, telling you even in our session that I've always been so drawn to astrology. And as a very young girl, I was reading astrology. Like I look back now thinking, God, I was like, 4 or 5 years old, I was reading astrology. And I was like, oh yeah, like I understand this, like I get this. And like you're kind of taught that it's all like frou, la la, whatever. But you do notice a pattern with time, with the characteristics of the signs and people that you meet, and how
Mhm.
you are drawn to certain characters. And like how, okay, so like, that's one thing. But then with time, I got into birth charts and all of that and all the other details. But then with astrocartography, I mean, that was recent. I was like, mind blown, mind blown. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is like a cheat code. It's like a cheat code to life, you know?
Yeah, it
And
really is.
and so like, I was like, wow. So like it was all the, and obviously I was very overwhelmed the first time I saw it, like an astrocartography chart, and I was like million lines everywhere. So like for people that don't know what an astrocartography map is, how would you describe it?
It is a unique map to you that's based on your birth information. And these lines that you see on the map are showing you where those planets in your birth chart are prominent. So certain planets have specific meanings and archetypes, like Saturn is work and responsibility, Venus is love, pleasure, values, aesthetics. The moon is your emotions, your heart, the people. Mars is action, courage, motivation. So these planets have these specific archetypes of what they mean and what they represent energetically. And when you were born, you had these planets on angles throughout the world. And this is all based on what's called relocation charts.
Mhm.
So essentially, the map was created in the 1970s by a brilliant inventor named Jim Lewis. And he created these maps based on the relocation charts for people's birth charts. So essentially, what a relocation chart is, it's as if you were born at the exact same moment in time, but in a different part of the world. So if
Interesting.
you were born, let's say in New York, right, at a certain time, now let's take that same information, right, but let's put you in Tokyo. So same moment you take your first breath being born in this life, but it's set in Tokyo. So that chart for Tokyo is showing us the story of what areas of life are becoming prominent for you if you lived in Tokyo.
Just to understand, when you are born, you essentially have an astrocartography map that never changes, right? It's like this
Yes.
one map. And
Yes.
this map stays the same. But if you move to another location,
hmm
your chart changes because
hmm
it's as if you were born in that place.
Yes. And if we look at, okay, let's the exact moment that you were born. Let's say in Japan, at that same moment that you were born, the moon was rising at that moment when you took your first breath. So the moon was on the rising angle, the ascendant angle in the relocation chart. That's why you have a line there. The moon ascendant line is going through Japan because the moon was rising in that part of the world at the moment you were born in the relocation
Oh,
chart.
okay. So if
So
somebody was born, let's say in London at 3 p.m., then they would change their location to Tokyo 3 p.m.
the time zone would adjust accordingly.
Ah, right.
So
Okay.
that's the thing. The location will change, and then the time zone will also shift because it's a different time in Tokyo or
Ah,
in wherever you're
so it
looking
would be
at.
the equivalent of 3 p.m. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And
Okay.
so this map, this astrocartography map, this guy named Jim Lewis, he created this map based on all the information of the relocation charts. So he created this beautiful map where we can see where the planets were on powerful places when you were born. And I
Mhm.
like to think of the astrocartography lines as power lines or power places because they're places where that planet is becoming really prominent, really displayed in your life. It's a very strong place energetically where there's also a story happening for you in the world based on what that planet represents.
And so let's say, somebody knows a little bit about astrology, they know their birth sign and everything, but they would
Mhm.
need to know their time of birth in order to do the astrocartography properly, right?
Yeah, you would need to know the time within 15 minutes to get an
Ah,
accurate reading because those lines that you see on the map, they shift dramatically because those lines are based on the angles in the birth chart. And the angles in the birth chart move 1 degree every 4 minutes. So for every 4 minutes, the angles will move a degree. And so if we're looking at, an hour later or 5 minutes later, those lines or those angles are going to shift dramatically on the map.
okay, so I have another question with regards to, let's say, a family. So like you've got
hmm
siblings in one family, and let's say they were all born in the same place. They could
hmm
have very different astrocartography maps where,
Yeah.
maybe one of them would be thriving in that city that they grow up in, but the other one wouldn't, but would thrive somewhere else.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And is it,
So,
yeah, go on.
so like for instance, my husband's family, the parents have really great lines where they live, but both the children don't have great lines in that location. They've both moved away. Like my husband lives in France with me where he has his best astrocartography lines, and he's always felt drawn to move here. And it's
Wow.
no coincidence the intuition felt the pull. And then his sister also lives in Hawaii where she has her best astrocartography line. And like they're not into astrology. They don't know about these things, but they felt called to go to better places. And the parents are thriving where they live because they have better astrocartography lines where they live.
Wow, that's fascinating because you're saying that there's an intuition that's just telling you like, oh, I really want to go to Paris, I really want to go to Paris, but you don't know
Yeah.
why. And then you
Yeah.
actually can see on your astrocartography that you would have a very good line going through Paris. Now,
Hmm.
I think anyone that would not be familiar with astrology at all would probably find it quite overwhelming to look at their own astrocartography chart.
For
So
sure.
it would be better for them to book a session with an expert.
Yeah, book a reading with someone or learn the skill, but there's a lot of details with astro mapping. It's so nitty-gritty. There's a lot of details to look at with charts and with the map. And so if you want it to be an easier experience where you get the direct information, I would say book a reading with an astrocartographer specialist.
Okay, and so like for people that are a little bit aware, what would you say are like the best lines to look out for and what the worst would be?
Yeah. So most of the time, people really love their Jupiter and Venus lines. These are what are called the benefics in astrology, meaning they're the planets that are supportive. They help you out. They give you good vibes, good energy. Jupiter represents expansion, opportunity, vision, belief, trust, optimism. People usually love their Jupiter lines. Usually there'll be like a purple line on your astrocartography map, depending on where you're going to look at your map. And then the Venus line is a light green line, and the Venus line represents pleasure, aesthetics, beauty, money, romance, connection. So those are usually the two lines that people like the most. Depending on their birth chart, everyone's birth chart is different. Sometimes people have a really difficult Venus in their chart, and so it can be harder for them to live on a Venus line. So it depends on the person. However, most of the time, those are the nicer lines. Sun lines are also just so vibrant. They're creative, self-expressive. And I always say, if you're looking for clarity on something in your life, go to a sun line. You might find that the sun line reflects clarity being brought to the surface or represents, it can be your purpose is kind of, or your potentials coming up to the surface or finding answers because the sun illuminates and shines a light on something in your life. And so I love sun lines for that. And then moon lines, people usually feel very emotionally connected to moon lines. They can represent home, family, belonging, safety, security, nourishment. And usually I find people especially love the moon. I mean, really all of them, but I find the moon ascendant, the moon IC, and the moon MC lines. Those three people usually especially love.
That's amazing to hear. But
Yeah.
again, it would be depending on what the person really is looking for. And that
Hmm.
would, I mean, like, I think it was my Jupiter MC. No, was it my Jupiter? Yeah. It was like running through the middle of the ocean. And it was only, I had to like zoom in and it was only going through Fiji, the islands of Fiji.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I get some of those too. I tell people you might just have to go live on a cruise ship to get that astrocartography line. No, no, well, here's the cool thing about it. Even if you don't have a line, let's say it's in the ocean somewhere and you can't really live out there. One, there's an orb of influence. So you can always measure the distance between you and where the line is. So, like, let's say you have a line in the middle of the ocean, 300 miles off of the coast of California. You still are within orb of that line. You're just 300 miles out, right? So you're still getting that story. You got some distance there. It's like a medium knife. And then also you always have a relocation chart. So that relocation chart there's still a story always happening for you, no matter where you are in the world. But those power places where the lines are like 150 miles is usually the intense strength of a line is 150 miles on either side of a line. That's where there's like a lot of energy coming from. So like Fiji might be a cool vacation spot to go to.
You know what's funny? I've always wanted to go to Fiji.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's fun.
Always wanted to go to Fiji. And the funny thing is that, I do like these Tony Robbins courses like very regularly. And um,
Yes.
And he has this special, because like I did like a package of his courses, and one of his courses is actually in Fiji. I would have to go there to finish the
Oh
course.
my
And he
gosh.
has his own resort there and everything. And I'm like, oh God, like all I want to do is just, I just really want to go to Fiji, you know? So like, I
Yes.
really want to go to, and it's so like random because it's literally on the other side of the world and it's very difficult to get to. But
Yes.
you know that like it has very interesting facts. So like in Fiji, like they don't import food, like, you know, they don't have a lot of this outside influence within the country. And so
Wow.
everything is like really quite natural and healthy and good and wholesome. And I love that, you know, about
Oh.
how they've managed. Yeah. So it's funny that I have that line going through there, but I really am manifesting a trip to Fiji.
Yes. Oh, you got to tell me how that goes. And you know
Yeah.
what's wild is like, even if you've never traveled or don't plan on traveling to go to a certain place, those lines are still going through those places, right? So you might find that your favorite vlogger that you follow on YouTube is based and living and filming videos on that line where you had that astrocartography line and you love seeing that part of the world. Or maybe there's music or a certain culture or religion or a spiritual modality. Like maybe you love Hinduism or you've always loved Tibetan, Buddhism, and you've got those astrocartography lines in India and Tibet. So there's always a call, a draw, a pull to these places. Even if you end up not going to them, you still have a story that's always there. And so you can connect with those stories just in your life wherever you live.
And so would that in any way influence the energy? Like, so if you would like, let's say, follow someone or start immersing yourself in that vibe, would that have any influence on your life?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even with people, like if you have some of your best career or connection relationship lines in certain part of the world, I would collaborate. I would connect with people that are based on those lines. When I like am on a podcast or something, I'm always looking at the astrocartography saying, oh, where is this person based? Do I have good energy where they're living? I'm always looking at that because it's showing us where our people are, where our important contacts are, where maybe our partner is in the world, where are they coming from in the world? And even when I'm hiring a team, like I just finished hiring my team just recently. I have like all these different team members helping me run my business, and they're all based in parts of the world where I have either really strong relationship lines or really cool career lines going through there.
Interesting. So if somebody wanted to see who they would work really well with, or let's say, you know, the magic question about love, romance, what could they do to enhance that if they can't be at that location?
Yeah. One of the things that I like to tell my clients is if you can't go there, get on the dating app and put your location to that place where you've got all this love stuff happening. And we could get it very exact, the exact latitude. Do you want to be a little bit north of LA? Do you want to be a little bit south? Do you want to be north of San Francisco or south of it, slightly south? We can get the exact latitude, the exact city, and where your love lines are in the world, set the dating app to that location. I've seen amazing results with this for my
Wow.
clients. Love and romance is my favorite thing to help people find because I don't know, my Taurus sun's in the seventh house, and I'm just like, I love helping people find relationships and connection. And it's
Oh,
something I'm like really known for. Like my clients always come back to me and say, I'm engaged. Oh my God, you did this. And like all this stuff. I just love it. It's like my favorite part. But one of my clients recently, she set her dating app to a spot in Montana, and her fiance is based there. And so she moved from Denmark to Montana to be with him.
from
And
Denmark?
yeah, from Denmark to Montana, the
Oh
state of Montana.
my
And
God,
she now
the whole
lives in
Yellowstone
Montana.
story happening.
I know. I love it. I know. And so she set her dating app profile to Montana, where he was, the town that he was, the area he was in. I think it's Bozeman. It's a bigger place. But yeah, right where her love line's going right through there. And so she's now
Wow,
engaged and going to get
that is
married, which is so exciting.
phenomenal. Oh, you've got to help me with mine after we're done with this and
I
talk.
know. Yeah. It's fascinating.
Okay, and so like, okay, so those are the good lines, and that's what people can
Mhm.
do if they can't travel. But what about the not so good lines.
Yeah, some lines are more challenging. I would say the biggest one that's the most challenging are Uranus lines. Uranus lines feel unstable, unsettling, or just like there's a sense of instability. I would say the hardest lines are the Uranus descendant line, and the Uranus IC is probably the most challenging. There's just this sense of rootlessness, restlessness, or feeling like you fully can't unpack and like settle and base yourself somewhere. It can also be a lot of changes with your home environment, your housing. It's usually not great long term. Other challenging lines are Saturn and Mars lines. Those are the malefics in astrology, and they just represent work, effort, challenge, difficulty. So, Mars, Saturn lines, but again, it depends on your birth chart. You know, I live right on my Saturn line here in
Mhm.
France, and I've been thriving.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there's not a lot of work involved though. Like I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me sometimes, or just a lot of like responsibility to step into my authority in my life. But I feel like my soul needed that. My soul wanted to find that Saturnian flavor within me. And so it felt called to be here. And so I don't like to think of any of the lines as bad. They're just lines that can bring more challenges. But I really also believe that sometimes I know our human brain can't comprehend it, but sometimes our soul wants to go somewhere to learn a story or a theme in our lives. And then we move on from it and we want to go somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also a very interesting point is that not all Saturn lines are bad and some are actually quite good and supportive. I mean, you even told me that I had a good Saturn line, which I was shocked by.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I've got to avoid this place at all costs, even though I've been there before and I've had great
Yeah.
experiences there. Like I can't complain about any of my trips to that
No.
place. And like I was like frightened when I saw that Saturn line. And then it turned out to be that actually no, it's a very supportive line. But it
Yeah.
depends from chart to chart.
It does. And some people's Mars will be more challenging than their Saturns. And this is all based on sect, which is determining if you have a day chart or a night chart. And so I look at many different things to determine whether someone's planet is supportive or not. I look at their aspects, I look at the sect of the chart. So if you have a day chart, meaning the sun is above the horizon, then Mars lines are going to be more challenging for you. Whereas if you have a night chart, you're born at night and the sun's below the horizon, then Saturn lines can be more challenging than supportive.
That's very interesting to know.
Yeah.
And let's talk about now because you also teach. So
Mhm.
yeah, if somebody wanted to learn, what would they do?
Yeah, you can get started with my free cheat sheet. I created a free cheat sheet where you can learn about all the different planetary lines and what they mean on your map. My favorite softwares to use so you could see all the different intricacies, like the latitude lines, which are the horizontal lines going across your map. For example, like LA is going to be different from San Diego because of the latitude or the Paran that's there, the Paran line. So I teach on that in my free cheat sheet, which you can get on my website, helenawoods.com. And then also, I have classes. I have tons of different workshops that I open up once a year, but my flagship signature course, the Relocation Astrology course, is open all year round and you can learn at any time. There's dozens of hours of examples, tutorials, how to read charts, how to read birth charts, how to read maps. And it's a really cool deep dive program if you ever wanted to learn this for yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really want to learn it. I would love to learn it. I don't know why I'm so drawn. I'm so drawn to astrology and astrocartography. Like I can't explain.
Yes.
And I just have this thirst for knowledge of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I would really love to learn it more just to understand myself better, where I am better. I think I'm like someone that likes optimization, right? So
Yes.
I'm always looking at
Yes.
how can I optimize and maximize. So then I'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
so if I go here, then this would do really well. So then I should go there and do this. And this time of year I should do that. And this, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm a full effort person. So I was like, what else could I do that could support and bring, this, and not just for myself, for my friends. So like, I'm not just looking at my own stuff. I'm always looking at my friends and people who I love. And I always try to support them. And I'll always be like, oh, this is really, really good for you. You should do this.
I
And
love that. It
yeah.
sounds very Jupiterian. What's your rising sign?
My rising is Aquarius.
Aquarius. And where do you have Jupiter in your chart? You know
It's
what sign?
yes, on the whole signs,
Huh?
on the whole signs, the Jupiter is in Libra in the ninth house.
Oh, I love that. Jupiter in the ninth. That's so fun because Jupiter in the ninth is all about wanting to expand your horizons, soak up all your potential, the possibilities of life, and learn, travel, go, expand your potential. That's so Jupiter in the ninth. I love that.
Wow, that's so funny that you have like that. Oh, that's so different than I.
Yeah.
Different
Oh,
than
yeah. I know.
I-
Every time I meet people, I like try to guess their rising signs. And I'll just like talk to them, try to guess their Mercury. And then if someone says something, I'll be like, oh, that's so this. That's so that. I love it because you can understand people so well. You can understand like it's one of the best tools is astrology because not only do you it helps you understand people, but
Yeah,
also what you're going through, you're not crazy. What you
yeah,
feel in different parts of the world, you're not crazy. Like if you feel weird every
yeah,
time you go and travel to that one part of the world, look at your map. It's
yeah.
there,
And
and I
is
think,
there a time of year that people should go to certain places? Because you did say,
oh yeah.
I really want to go to Australia because at that time my
Yeah.
son is, I can't remember what you said, but
Oh, yes. I'm going to Australia in 2 days because I have Uranus, which moves 7 to 8 years in one zodiac sign. So it takes forever to move. It takes 84 years to go all the way around, right? But it's sitting right on my sun, exactly. And it's like a huge once in a lifetime moment where it's like authenticity shining in who you are, getting rid of people pleasing, like just being you. And I'm going to Australia because I have the sun line going right there, meaning Uranus is also hitting that sun line on the map and activating Australia for me right now in time. And so that's where we get a bit more advanced, where it's like, okay, where should we be?
yeah,
When? It's like
yeah,
right time, right place. And so I help people every year, like my client calls like time their travels. Let's say they want to plan the year out. It's like, okay, when are the best times to travel for the year? Let's pick those months. And then from there, we pick the best places in the world that will be most supportive for them during those times. And depending on what they're looking for, like I'm going to be launching something when I'm in Australia. So I'm going to a career line so that I can launch my project to take the full potential, take the best optimal use of that line and the timing as I can. So you can do this for different areas of your life. If you want to meet the love of your life, going to a love line when you have love transits going on in your chart and activating that line, right? So there's like it's when we get really detail oriented, but it's fascinating. It's just so cool.
that's amazing. So if somebody wanted to do that, it would be better to be with someone like you or an expert that could really guide through the transits and where that would
Yeah.
be in the timing.
Yeah, and I teach on this on in my course Relocation Astrology. I do readings and also I have some podcast episodes on my podcast Cosmic Compass. So if people wanted to learn the basics of like how to time their travels, I teach on that I have two episodes on that, which is great. And yeah, and then also I have my directory of readers. I have like a team of readers that are doing readings for my certification program. So I have a very long wait list. So I of course I'm always taking on new clients on the wait list, but if I can't get, if I don't have availability for the next 4 to 5 months, I'll just send you to my directory and my team of readers who can help you.
That's amazing.
Your Aquarius rising. Oh, it's going to be so much better for you once we get into this summer and also into 2026 because we're going to get sad out of your second and into your third. That's going to be so much lighter for you.
I can't take this anymore.
I know. All the Aquarius risings, they've been struggling the last 2.5 years since March of 2023. Is that
Yeah.
when things started getting a little bit more challenging?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's been challenging for a while, but I think that was
Yeah.
really like, yeah.
Yeah. All the people that I love following on social media, they're all Aquarius risings because Aquarius risings, they're very cool, they're very influential. People love them. They're great at social media and like social media marketing, all of that. But the problem is they've had Saturn going through the second house of money, income, and things like that. So a lot of those people that I love and follow, they've all been struggling and talking about it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, it's because Saturn's going through your second. But this summer, you're going to get a nice break starting end of May through the whole summer. Then get a little wrapping up that story in the fall. And then once we get into beginning of 26, it's like, okay, that story's done. Now we can move on. Oh, it's going to be such a breath of fresh air.
So, Helen, I have another question, which is maybe a little bit more complicated, and it's regarding couples, right? So maybe a couple are married or they've just gotten married, and one of them is like doing really well, but then the other one isn't. And it's probably due to where they are, right? So would you recommend for a couple? Because then it becomes two charts and also two charts that are changing and transforming in different places.
Yeah. Well, one, I find often couples are often in alignment with places like the one person will have a similar line as the other, or they'll both either have some sort of alignment and connection with a place. However, when there is the situation where one person has a more challenging line, ideally it would be nice to move to a location where either one person has a more neutral or like just less intense story happening in that location. Like, let's say, for instance, maybe they're 300, 400 miles away from an astrocartography line. So there's more spaciousness. And the other person has a really strong, nice astrocartography line. So I would say that would be kind of my rule of thumb is to find a place that suits both people. I also just believe from a spiritual perspective that sometimes we're meant to go to places to learn something or experience something. And so maybe there, let's say that one person has a job and they got a job in a location and they have to move there and live there. The other person's going to have to come with, right, or follow. Now, if there's a hard, challenging line, how can you best utilize that planet to its full advantage? So, like, if it's a Mars line, how can you learn to be more brave and courageous and take more risks in your life? What do you need to initiate or start? Maybe there's a business you want to start, or maybe you're learning how to be more assertive and independent in what you want to go after in your life, right? There can be a soul or a spiritual lesson in that location, even if it's a harder line. There's always something you can take from that planet. If it's a Saturn line, maybe there's a need to step into your authority and be more responsible and step into that work ethic and build something substantial. If it's a Pluto line, which is more intense, there might be this theme of needing to let go and surrender. Maybe there's a lesson in letting go more, in transformation, letting go of who you used to be to step into something new. So I always say there's always a positive to every astrocartography line, but ideally it would be great to get both people in a more supportive location.
And how could someone make the most out of a negative line, like, or like, for example, a Uranus line or a Pluto line? Like, how could they
Mhm.
really, like, it's not comfortable or easy to be around that? How could they maximize the positive, if there is a positive from that, that it would
Yeah.
be a more merciful experience?
Yeah. I would say adding in the opposite of what line represents. So let's say you live on a Uranus line and there's just this feeling of unsettledness or instability with your living situation. I would say, how can you add more groundedness, Taurus energy in your life? Like maybe that's taking care of plants in your home, or maybe that's getting yourself a really nice dresser and like organizing your space so that like getting dressed and getting ready and having a nice morning routine, having this structure, creating structure in your day, in your home can be the way to leaning into the opposite of what Uranus is. So, like adding in more grounding and stability in your tasks, in your actions that you're taking, so that you can fully slow down and not feel as chaotic with Uranus. Or, for instance, if there's a lot of Saturn, how can you allow more creativity and play in your life? Maybe you have a lot of Saturn influence where you live. Let's try to do the opposite a little bit. Lean into how can you lighten up a little bit? Add some play into your life. Is it getting a new video game? Is it buying a Game Boy and getting a Sims game and playing for 30 minutes a night to kind of just let yourself be a little bit more playful? Is it putting on music and dancing and expressing yourself in a cute outfit to lighten the mood? I would say if you ever feel too stuck in the negatives of an astrocartography line, try to balance it out with what the opposite of that would be.
And what about with regards to health? Like, could any of these lines really impact somebody's health?
I always say it really has to do with transit. So, like the timing matters. However, if you are on a difficult health line, a body line, and you have that transit influencing that location, it can exacerbate, is that how you say it? It
Yeah,
can
that's correct.
intensify it.
Yeah.
Yes. You could intensify that. So, for instance, I had a client who was living on her Chiron ascendant line, which is a big health and body line. And when she was living there, she was also in her Chiron return. So it was like Chiron ascendant on Chiron ascendant. So it was the timing was hitting and activating that line. And she had major health difficulties and chronic illness. And it was really hard for her to get out of it. I advised if she could to leave that body line and be somewhere where it's not going to be bringing up so much health themes in that location. You still have to look at your transits. You can't avoid your timing in life. However, you can put yourself in a less intense part of the world where health and body is not going to be a huge, big theme like it would if you were somewhere else.
Wow, that's so interesting to know, especially for people who are dealing with chronic illnesses and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm actually working right now on a health astrocartography workshop I'm putting together. I've been doing research because I have had all the clients and stories and examples of how this works. And so I'm putting together a class right now on that because place really matters. I was even just like on a trip, like I went to Dubai recently and I was there for a week and a half. And I have my sun line in Dubai and it's a body line. It's all about my health and body and my identity, right? And so when I was there, Uranus was on my sun and it brought up all this health and body stuff to the forefront when I was there. And it was very like sudden. And I went to the doctor and I got all my tests and my checkups and stuff. And there was just a weird feeling of like, I need to focus on my health right now. That all came up to the surface only when I was in Dubai. When I went back home, it wasn't really a thing anymore. It was really just when I went to Dubai for that week and a half.
oh
So
my
just
goodness.
wild how, you go on a trip and then something is illuminated, in your life. And then you go back home and then you have to figure out that story or finish it. But it's just interesting how place brings up these stories.
Yeah, and everyone's is different. Like no one, there's no one u universal place for everyone that would be good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends on really what you're looking for. I mean, sometimes we can get a lot of balance in a location, so you can get a little bit of everything that you're looking for. Sometimes places have a lot of stories about something specific, like career growth and success, or family and home, right? So it really depends on what people are looking for in their lives and kind of what they want to call in for their next chapter. And so I always start with that. I always start with obviously what are the best planets for this person, but also what are they seeking in their life that they want so that we can put them in a place where they're going to get a lot of that.
And what about with regards to like I saw like online in some forums, people were saying all my lines run through the sea, like all of them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know like how severe it can get. I'm sure you've seen a lot. So like what
Yeah.
happens in those situations?
When there's like a lot of lines crossing and a lot of lines
In the
together
sea, like they're all in the
in the
sea.
sea.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I would say, look to your relocation chart because that's going to tell you what's happening in different areas of your life. Like, are you getting
yeah.
more friends, more career focus, right? So look to the relocation chart if you're seeing that. But sometimes people do have a lot of their lines in random places that aren't on land. But usually there's still parents, there's still local
Mhm.
space, there's still other techniques you can use.
Mhm.
So there you definitely have more options for sure.
Amazing. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you'd like me to ask you or to add?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, no, I really loved it. Like I could have gone on and on and on, but like I know like
Yeah,
social media, you can't keep it that long, like
I know.
like I'm just
For
like, oh, I
sure.
love this. Like I love asking her questions and learning
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting this out there so that, people can better their lives. And I'm thinking very specifically about, and I have people that I know and people in mind who are going through like a really hard time and who are, suffering from like depression and like very, very negative experiences that are happening to them that didn't happen to them in other places because I've known them for a long time. Um,
Yeah,
and it's very saddening and
yeah,
as a friend to see that because you want to help.
yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, and I and
Have
I
you ha have you looked at their astrocartography?
I have looked at a couple of my friends.
Yeah,
Um, the others didn't want to share it with me because, which I understand it's
yeah,
their privacy.
yeah,
But the couple that I did look at, I was like, everything like this one particular friend, everything that she always says about how she feels when she's in Italy. And then she had like
yeah,
all these amazing lines going through Italy. And I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, you know how you feel when you go somewhere.
Oh, yeah. You know,
And she
yeah,
has beautiful lines, and it's funny, like my close friends, like I noticed they have a lot of very good lines going through exactly where you told me I should be going, right?
yes,
The same, and I was like, that's so weird that we all have
yeah,
these lines going through that same city, or
yeah,
like near that city. And it could be that one day that, either we all go there or I go there and then they come or
yeah.
and like
Or
and
even like even if you don't move there, it's like connecting with people who are based there.
Yeah.
you know, working with brands or companies that are based there,
Yeah.
like utilizing those places because those lines are showing you where your stories are and where your people are and where opportunities are for you. So like even if you decided to live where you live, like use like if you see an office or company is based in LA, like go for it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Hello.
it's a little, it looks like it paused.
Yeah, yeah,
It paused.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a look and then I also looked at some of the like negative lines and I was just like, oh yeah, that's and one of my friends was actually going through a really tough time and she didn't really have positive lines, really. At like yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, I really think you should leave. I really
Well, yeah, and it's like even just getting up to a better latitude too. Like sometimes someone will be on a nice Venus line, but they'll be on a really challenging latitude. So like they'll live on like a Mars Chiron latitude, which is like one of the most challenging ones. And just getting them an hour north or
wow.
getting them just up a couple towns away, it significantly reduces the challenges in their lives when they're just off of that latitude line. So sometimes it could be even just like slight tweaks like that. It doesn't even have to be a whole cross country, move or anything. It could just be like just get off that latitude.
And I think people are becoming more and more aware of how they're feeling. Like they're
Yeah.
not, I think this whole very like stringent, logical approach to life where you're not looking at anything but what's like
Yeah.
evident
Yeah.
right in front of you is like
Yeah.
fading. And like people are really like, well, how am I feeling?
Hmm.
How am I
Yeah.
feeling? And I don't feel right. And I don't feel something's right. And I can't put my finger on it. And people are now more open to astrology and
Yeah.
astrocartography now because it's
Yeah.
giving answers to their feelings.
Yeah. And also like honoring your body, listening to your gut, listening to your body. Sometimes your body can tell you first before your mind tells you, Or sometimes we don't want to admit something or we don't want to like sometimes we feel uncomfortable or afraid to do something, but like our body is like, no, go, move, start that business, try that thing?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Like I saw that I had this thing with Fiji, and then I also have this thing with Scotland. And I haven't really checked Scotland, like I don't really know, but like I'm so drawn to visiting Scotland. And everyone's just like,
Yeah.
why? Why would you? I'm like like I see pictures of like I could spend hours scrolling through videos of Scotland, okay?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Highlands and like,
Oh, I love that. You
you know,
probably have you might have some like destiny lines there, like when one line is hitting another. Those are
oh,
like destiny
Destiny
points.
line.
You could
What's
have
a
some cool
Destiny
lines up there.
line? Tell
It's
me.
basically it's like when you have an astrocartography line crossing another, or you have one astrocartography line crossing a local space line. So it's utilizing a couple different techniques where you can find exact points of where things are happening.
Oh, that's so interesting. I have another question that I wanted to ask you at the beginning, and I
Yeah.
forgot. It's good that I remembered now. Like, is there a way to see whether or not you have karma in a certain location, like a
Karma, I mean,
previous
maybe.
life,
I mean,
like a
you
previous
can
life?
oh yeah, you can definitely see past lifelines on an astrocartography map.
Really?
I mean, I've seen them for my clients because I've had so many clients tell me, like, I feel like I've had a past life here. Like, this place always draws to me. What is there? And it's always certain lines. Like, the Pluto IC line is a huge one for that. I have a
Oh,
friend who just moved to her Pluto IC line and she loves living there. And she feels like she's lived there in a past life and it's very familiar to her. It feels like she's been there, she's lived there. And those IC lines are big for past lives.
so Pluto IC is an indicator of a past life in that land, in that
In
area.
in my in my research with my clients, I've noticed that it's a common thread.
Interesting. And
Mhm.
that could be
Yeah.
good or bad. It could be
Hmm.
karmic, it could be good, it could be,
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so lovely connecting with you. You're such a joy. I just love your energy so much. You have so
Oh,
much heart and warmth.
oh my God, I feel the same about you, really. I really do.
Oh,
Yeah, and I feel
oh my
so
gosh.
blessed to have met you and to know you. And when I reached out to you, and I just the way everything happened so smoothly, I feel
Yeah.
so honored and so blessed.
Oh, it was meant to be. It was meant
Yeah.
to happen. We were meant to connect.
Yeah, really. And you're such a pure and vibrant light and soul.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. You as well. It's a
You.
mirror. When
Yeah.
people connect, it's because they both have something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Let's tell the followers if they wanted to reach out to you or learn from you or maybe do a course, maybe become a client? How could they do that?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Ms. Helena Woods or my website, helenawoods.com. You'll find all the links there.
I wanted to ask about your VIP stuff that you're launching. One second.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the client. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's gonna be like a year-long program for like 4 people. I'm so excited. I'm in the beginning stages of that, but that's gonna be really fun.
And how could someone sign up to that? Or you've already closed it?
Haven't opened it yet. So,
Okay.
what I'm gonna do is I'll post about it with like an application thing on like Google Forms, and then you could fill it out, and yeah, and then I'll reach out to you.